How's it going? Welcome back, my wise ones, to a special video today. Now, I am going to be playing this live to demonstrate to you. So basically, I have made the Elder Scrolls 6 before Bethesda. That's right, I have made Elder Scrolls 6 by using Skyrim mods. And when I say the Elder Scrolls 6, I basically mean, you know, what I imagine Elder Scrolls 6 to be like, with 60 plus mods, an ENB enabled, all the latest stuff, brand new lighting, ray tracing, everything included. Now, I started this project as just for fun, and I just wanted to play Skyrim again because it had been a very long time since I had played Skyrim, and I just thought, hey, I want to do a deep RPG about vampires because that would be cool. That hasn't really been done. Not many, RPG games out there that offer deep role-playing when it comes to vampires, and I was disappointed with the last vampire game from Bloodlines, so I thought I would turn Skyrim into the ultimate RPG experience. But being a goddamn autist, I just could not stop modding it. It was going to be a few mods, and then it turned into a whole next-gen Skyrim upgrade. So this is Skyrim next gen for 2026, the best 2026 mods for Skyrim. Let me show you. So basically what I've done is I've completely overhauled Skyrim, from every single texture in the game, to the weather system, to the lighting, to the water effects. As you can see now, the ice and everything is using parallax textures, and I will be able to show you that off better later on. For water now, is probably the best looking water I've ever seen, not just in Skyrim, but pretty much in any video game, which is kind of insane. And then the lighting is completely overhauled with this dynamic sky. And it goes a lot deeper. I've also changed basically how weapons function, how the camera functions, how third-person combat works, how magic works, pretty much everything. So we're just gonna watch the sunset together, and I do hope you like this video. If you do, please do like the video, because that does help a lot. This project took me like 2 weeks to make, and like I said, it was originally going to be a simple mod overhaul for me to enjoy, but I can't do that because my brain just won't let me be satisfied. I just had to keep adding and adding and adding, and then I just decided, okay, fuck it, let's just make this into a next-gen Skyrim edition. Let's basically make the Elder Scrolls 6, because Bethesda sure as shit won't, so here you go. And this also is a big difference with a mod called Precision. Basically now, if I do a big attack, it's not going to just hit one target, it will hit no matter what is in my target's way, so that's kind of insane. There's also full dismemberment system with any creature in this game. There's magic effects that burn them to a crisp, that shock them, gore overhauls, pretty much everything. But yeah, I just thought I would show you it going from day to night. The clouds are completely dynamic. The water casts real reflections, as I'll show you now, using kind of advanced lighting and volumetrics, and kind of almost ray tracing. So let me show you that. Alright, so here I am, being a sneaky vampire. And as you can see, it's absolutely beautiful when the northern lights are completely out. I got basically inspired by looking at a lot of these, overhaul mods that completely transform the game. I think Elder Gleam is a very popular one. As you can see, every texture in the game has been changed to actually use parallax textures, from everything, the grass to the trees. So as you can see here, this new lighting overhaul with this special, like, realistic water, it casts absolutely every single reflection like ray tracing does. You can see the northern lights reflected from the sky into the water, as well as the trees, and I'll just show that off more. So yeah, this was just going to be a fun little side project for me. Now, if you're new to the channel, you probably aren't aware that I always love modding my games. That's kind of what I do on this channel. It's part of what I do, as well as reviews and philosophical video essays and all that kind of stuff, but I just love modding stuff because it's basically, you know, art, in my opinion. You can take a base game from, you know, a decade ago, Skyrim, and now, I didn't even realize, because I haven't played this game in like over 5 years, just how advanced the mods have come, and now I've actually got a good PC. It's not amazing, you know, a 4070 with an i9, you do need a good CPU if you want to mod it to this level, but I didn't realize how far mods have come in Skyrim, and I got inspired by all these overhauls, like Elder Gleam, and I thought, you know what, I don't want to just do that. I don't want to be lazy and just, you know, copy someone else's vision. I wanted to make a modded 2026 Skyrim that keeps true to the original, but makes everything updated, from gameplay to visuals to immersion. So that's what I've done. So I'm just going to demonstrate a little sneak attack, as I've basically overhauled the vampire system in Skyrim, as that's what I'm playing as. As you can see here, the textures for the wall is absolutely insane. Everything has parallax textures, so so using my vampire abilities, I can go invisible because I'm using the better vampire overhaul mod, which makes it much more of an RPG if you are wanting to do a vampire kind of Skyrim run. So let me go invisible over here, and then slowly, carefully sneak past him, and then I can do a stealth attack on him by draining his essence, and there you go. And then after that, I can just drag his body away into the shadows, and as you can see, it's very immersive, very, very cool. Yes, I'm a wizard, and I'm 28 years old. Now, by the end of the video, I will show you all of the mods that I have used. It's my opinion that you don't need to go crazy modding Skyrim. I mean, obviously I have, but you know, there's a certain amount where you're going to start getting tons of crashes. It took me a long time to get this stable now with all of these mods working together, but now that it does, it runs very well, considering my, you know, GPU and everything, and it looks completely next gen, as you can tell. All of the reflections, like I said, are real-time reflections, so you can see, you know, for example, compared to the vanilla water, just how different this water is and how much of a difference it makes. There's like volumetric lighting now, enhanced lighting as well. So basically everything casts real light. So that means nighttime it's dark and everything emits its own light, kind of like ray tracing. And also it depends on the position of the moon and the sun. And I will show you the actual mods that I'm using at the end of the video.
Sukat! His eyes uncovered!
Now I'm kind of cramped in this little corner over here because I'm using my second recording software, so sorry if it looks a bit different to my normal videos, but as you can see here, just looking at the floor, you can see that I'm using parallax textures. Now I'm using like lots and lots of different texture packs on top of each other, so everything, you know, kind of feels connected, not out of place, but they all do, you know, but they all mesh very well together. So that was very important. I also don't like these kind of big overhauls that you see on YouTube. In my opinion, they add too much vegetation and it kind of destroys your PC. But I have added, obviously, unique flora. So basically that means no matter what area you're in Skyrim, each district, each area of Skyrim will have its own unique plants and everything that makes it feel very distinct without overdoing it, without making it feel like you're walking through an overgrown, you know, I don't know, there's just some ridiculous mods out there. And also everything now reacts to your movement, so when you walk over certain plants and everything like that, they actually have proper physics to them with proper volumetric lighting. And honestly, this runs better than that crappy Oblivion Unreal slop that they gave us, that my PC just said nope to. So it just shows you, you know, you can do it yourself much better. You just gotta kind of take some time to figure out what you're doing. So it's difficult to show it off, but you can see some volumetric lighting happening there. In fact, going into this cave will show it off quite nicely. So let's just go and have a look. But I would say that the textures, you know, they all have much more detail to them, but without like standing out as overly, you know, done. They just, you know, obviously have a lot more detail compared to vanilla, which is a lot nicer.
Hi, I've never seen you around here before. Are you a miner too?
The same thing with the caves. All of the caves have unique textures, as do the ancient dungeons, which I'll show off. But this is a good example. So now, you know, torches and everything now actually, you know, cast their own light and shadows, as you can see. And it just makes the lighting kind of pop, especially with the ENB that I'm using that kind of partners with this lighting overhaul system. It just makes every cave and, you know, it just makes every cave feel very next gen and updated. So you can see, you know, the textures here, very nice. And the cave textures I use mesh very well with these other parallax textures, that it just kind of blends together very nicely. Now I do hope you subscribe to the channel if you are new, if you love gaming mods and this kind of stuff, because I am very passionate about this kind of thing, because I really do feel like it is almost an art form, because you can basically create whatever you want. So I'm going to show some combat, but let's just hope YouTube doesn't go crazy and demonetize it. So let me show you now. But it just feels so much better now, the combat, thanks to the magic overhaul system that I've used, more RPG mechanics, things like precision really make a big deal. So now it actually depends where I hit. Basically, NPCs will react to where I actually hit them instead of it just being a generic attack, and it will actually stop the weapon on impact. So it just makes it feel much more next gen, because then you actually have to, you know, think about where you're attacking, and then if you add the dismemberment overhaul system on this, it makes Skyrim very brutal, but very much like a next gen Elder Scrolls game. Think of games like Chivalry and stuff like that, where, you know, it actually matters where you hit and stuff like that, and it just feels like it has a lot more impact. So let's just demonstrate that. Here we go. Let's show you what the combat does. And like I said, like the video, subscribe if you're new. That really does mean a great deal. You know, I'm just happy to share these kind of passion projects with you. And I think pretty much anyone can do this. It's actually kind of a little bit more finicky than downloading Wabberjack, but with that you've got to upgrade to the crappy Anniversary Edition and give Bethesda a lot of money. You've got to buy Nexus Premium, so just, you know, keeping it true to the original style of game, but then upgrading all of the base elements, like I said, immersion, graphics, gameplay, and RPG mechanics. That's all that you really need to make a next-gen Skyrim experience, so that's what I hope this video does, showing you the best Skyrim 2026 mods. Alright, so let's just chop this bastard up, shall we? I'm perfectly sane, by the way. God damn it, I've been yapping so long, my light is gone. Alright. Oh, sorry. Well, that's a little of a PG-13 death, but, you know, it does demonstrate things well. Yeah, it's okay. Just get out of here. God damn it. Alright, so as you can see, he's kind of spazzing out, which is a good thing, I'll have you know. And you get some pretty messed up effects, which I'll demonstrate. God damn it, if I don't die. So this is the precision mod in action. So it really matters where you're positioning yourself and where you attack, and they will actually react to each hit. So let me try and go for her arm, I guess. Crap. Never mind. Okay, so that was much more difficult than I expected. So as this person kind of just spasms out, I will demonstrate. Not only is there, you know, advanced, you know, stuff like this, which I probably can't show too much of because of YouTube, but basically there's 3 layers to this combat system for this next-gen Skyrim experience, and I hope the Elder Scrolls 6 does something like this, but I highly doubt it. Yeah, it is the Elder Scrolls 6, yeah. So basically there's the dismemberment feature, there's the actual enhanced, you know, kind of damage overhaul that deals with like greater blood spatters and all that kind of stuff, and spasms and all that kind of realistic stuff. And then you've got the magic overhaul system, and it took me a long time to figure out what mods I could use, because there's another one similar to this, but it just crashed the game every time. So now I found a setup that allows all of this to work on top of the same framework, which doesn't crash the game. So if I just torch this person like a perfectly sane person would, we can see what kind of effect happens. Because I've found a different mod that does function well. So now you get, you know, pretty brutal effects for all of your magic, you know, depending on what element you use, fire, ice, and all of that kind of stuff. And now it actually works with the dismemberment framework. Now, obviously, you don't need these mods. It depends if you're a sick man like I am and you like this kind of shit. But if you want more, you know, if you don't want such a visceral experience, then you can, you know, have it more tame, and you can just have the magic system instead of the dismemberment feature if you want. But now, just to demonstrate this feature off, we will use this man as a test subject. I am a perfectly sane human being, as I just have to say again. So let's hope YouTube doesn't do anything. Let's hope YouTube doesn't get upset about this, but this is a game, YouTube. This, you know, it happens in Fallout all the time. I'm just trying to make it realistic and cool. Anyway, so here we go. So now, there you go. As you can see now, basically, it's much more realistic, because depending on where you swing with the precision combat overhaul, like I said, it will actually hit multiple targets at once. You know, their heads will bounce back and react depending on where you hit. The same with them blocking, or, you know, their weapons can get disarmed. And then, on top of that, the dismemberment feature, basically wherever you cut with the precision mod, now it actually, you know, has a chance, depending on what attack you use, to actually, you know, trigger, as you can see, a dismemberment. And that's probably as much as I can show you without getting this video demonetized. So let's go on to some other locations. So I do hope you're enjoying this Skyrim 2026 mod showcase, how to make Skyrim next gen. So basically the ENB that I'm using plays well with this lighting overhaul system and this weather overhaul system. So basically the weather is always dynamic. You know, as you can see, the clouds, there'll sometimes be little streaks, sometimes there'll be big thunderstorms. You know, it just really depends on the weather, and then this, you know, will also impact what you hear indoors as well. But yeah, so the ENB and the weather mod work together, and also the ENB works with this water, and then the lighting overhaul system that casts, you know, reflections, as you can see, that also works well with everything. So it took me a while to figure out, you know, what mods work together. But if you just follow the kind of mod list I have at the end of the video, then you can see, yeah. But it's just crazy to me that Skyrim, you know, is such a special game. And I've never been like a massive diehard fan of Skyrim, but it's one of those games that I just want to return to now and then. I've seen video essays discuss why that is, and it is because, you know, this was when Bethesda was at their peak. You know, only 100 developers working on this. It's kind of crazy, but that's how it should be, because it's not about the number, you know, and put in a lot of filler and live service slop in games like Bethesda does now with 76 and stuff like that. It was about passionate people creating something that they actually cared about, a team that could actually get on the creative same wavelength. That's very important, and that's kind of lost today in these mega studios. And the reason why Skyrim is the greatest is not because of the amazing combat or the great writing, but it does have amazing lore. But it's the world. The world is still unmatched to this day, especially in fantasy RPG games. You know, you can compare it to something like The Witcher, but I feel like Skyrim is in its own category because this world just feels so alive. Things happen without you. You can play as any character. You can play this game in so many different ways, not just like in one way like you would The Witcher. So it's a very different experience. And that's why Skyrim is still so special to this day. It's just simply the world that feels so alive. And the fact that you can do stuff like this and, you know, mod it to make it feel truly like a next-gen game. Okay, here we go. Let's see how this magic system interacts with wildlife as well. Just a simple fire burn. A nice little bonfire out here. I have a little barbecue. Why not? Now, as you can see, the fox has become a kind of charcoaly mess, which is kind of cool. So the magic system, as well as the overhauled, you know, physical combat system, like I said, with weapons, with how they swing, where they actually interact, and all that kind of stuff. Now that's completely overhauled. See, like I was miles away from her, but because the swing goes so far, I can still hit her. So that's pretty cool. And they all actually work well together without crashing the game, and that is very important. Now, I think this just adds a lot of personality to the caves, so they feel different. So when you explore an ancient dungeon, it truly feels like an ancient dungeon. And also there's different draugrs and stuff like that, different undead with the variation that I'm using, so it always makes it feel unique, which I like, because then just raiding different dungeons, it doesn't get old because they all feel and look different, and the enemies within them act differently, which I think is pretty cool. Now, some might say, Savior, you're a madman. You're a twisted individual, because yes, it did take me 2 weeks to get this up and running, but I do hope that, you know, someone out there in the community of autistic, crazy madmen who love modding their games can perhaps benefit from this. And, you know, if you don't want to overhaul Skyrim by using Wabberjack and these kind of giant mod packs that take up so much space, my one is much more light, but it still makes it feel next gen, in my opinion, without changing absolutely everything. So as you can see, the sparks also affect the animals and stuff after they're dead. And yeah, it's just crazy that this doesn't crash the game, because before, you know, I was using so many different kind of animations on the, you know, the bodies and stuff like that, that it would change the game and just crash it. But now they all work together, which is pretty crazy to me. So let me just show you. That's the magic feature, and then if I switch to a two-handed weapon, and I want to take this tail's fox, I mean, and then if I want to take this tail with me, because I'm a creep, I can do that. Should be able to. There you go. Wow. Oh, look, I can go and trade this tail, and it's all steaming. I mean, that's insane, isn't it? That level of detail. I can't just be a madman, okay? Tell me I'm not insane. I'm also using like a light city overhaul. There are mods out there that add so much to the cities that expand them, but to me, I just wanted a light touch up of the cities. So basically just adds greater detail, like greater world building, adds you know, a little bit more depth to the cities, make them feel a little bit more alive, but then they all, you know, feel very unique and different. And I think that's, you know, just a nice touch to the game. So it doesn't completely overhaul the cities, but it does enough to make them feel unique and different. So I'll just show you another one quickly. But as you can see, like, all of the lights actually cast their own proper lighting. And then the reflections on top of it just make it all feel much more alive. So I just think, like, this is the most beautiful I've ever seen Skyrim. The most I've ever modded it myself. I know you can go crazy with 200 mod... I know you can go crazy with 200 mod packs and stuff like that, but at that point, it's not really Skyrim anymore. This keeps the visual identity, but just updates everything. Updates the gameplay, like I said. Demonstration of the volumetric kind of lighting system overhaul. So it actually uses where the sun is. It's subtle. It's not like Fallout where it's overdone, but it just adds this nice kind of, you know, lighting effect when you're traveling through different parts of Skyrim, and it makes the air, if that makes any sense, feel dense. Feels, you know, you feel the atmosphere a lot more. Also the water, you know, it's not always a constant, beautiful, clear blue. It changes depending on where you are, which I think is a pretty cool effect. There's something trying to eat me. Troll, great. And underneath as well, you can see that it actually casts, you know, like that kind of volumetric lighting effect, which is really nice. So yeah. Where else can I go? Somewhere more in the snowy area, I guess. Alright, so it looks like we got a troll. A troll in the dungeon. I might be under-leveled to attack this. See, so I really have to, like, be up close and personal for my attacks to actually land. There you go. See, I lost my arm, and then, because I'm a vampire, I turned to dust. So, yeah. Another thing that it does, you know, with this vegetation overhaul, and the lighting as well, as you can see, like, again, another example of the Northern Lights. But you can see that, you know, all the plants and everything have a lot of detail to them. But even the trees now, like the way they collect snow on top of the branches, as you can see, I just think that's a really nice touch, and it really makes you feel like you are in this kind of winter, you know, wonderland. This kind of crazy fantasy when it does, you know, when you are exploring these snowy areas. But it is crazy to me that all of these years later, you know, there's still a massive interest in Skyrim. It just shows you that, you know, this game was when Bethesda was at its peak. When it came to writing, the lore is incredibly rich, so it shows that Bethesda can actually craft amazing stuff. They've just kind of forgotten how. And when they actually had passionate developers, you know, a small group on the same creative wavelength, they could create something special, because when you compare this to Starfield, it's just completely night and day. NPCs have their own routines, everything that you do matters in Skyrim, and it's almost like a meditative, relaxing experience thanks to the ambience and the soundtrack. So it doesn't ever feel like you're wasting time, because it all goes to progress your character. So I'm just going to show you a sneak attack. So I'm going to lock on here, and I'm going to do a sneak spell attack. So as you can see, I could actually get a sneak bonus with that attack. So you don't actually just have to play a stealth archer, you could be a stealth mage with this magic system that I've added. So it just, you know, adds to the RPG elements, the action RPG elements. And let's turn this crab into a spark fest, just to show you the effects. So you'll see a bit of smoke rise, and then, as you can see, like, he actually gets damage from the electric, which is pretty cool. There are other mods out there that do it to a greater detail, like I said, but then it won't work with the other systems, the other combat systems that I've added. And like I said, I think this is the best thing to make it feel next gen, to overhaul the combat without adding silly animations. There are different animations that I have added just to make it a little bit more varied. So for example, if I run with a two-handed weapon now, it's not just going to be, you know, the traditional animation. Now I actually do it kind of one-handed. So it's subtle changes, but there's some animations out there that just make the game feel not really like Skyrim anymore. And yeah, as you can see, the weather is always dynamic, so now there's like fog rolling in, and it just makes it feel much more immersive. It might be hard to convey on video, but it just makes it feel much more like real, instead of like overdone. And that's what I wanted. I wanted to create like an immersive next-gen Skyrim experience, and that's what I hope the Elder Scrolls 6 will be. So you can see some of the volumetric kind of light coming through the trees now, and it just adds this kind of grounded realism, but still like with this really kind of nice fantasy art style to it, that just makes it feel very next gen, I think, personally. And then you know, I haven't overdone it with like 4K textures. I think most of them are 2K. So if you have a similar rig, you should be able to run it without, you know, breaking your system. It might dip sometimes below 60 FPS, but it just makes everything, you know, like feel like they actually have 3D texture to them thanks to the parallax textures. And holy shit, looks like a little frosty attack. So after you've used frost magic, you know, they'll also be kind of frozen. As you can see, like even the cheese has been updated. There are some people who go overboard and, you know, make everything try and be photorealistic, but to me that wasn't really the goal of this. You know, is to update the visuals, make them look nice, but there's a point where, you know, you can go photorealistic and then lose the actual art style that it was going for. So it just makes everything look modern, but still keeping that original aesthetic of Skyrim. But Skyrim is such a special game for all those reasons. Like I said, it's not the deepest RPG, but you can make it a more deep RPG by adding, you know, all of these different gameplay changes. But, you know, this combat might be kind of difficult for some people because you do actually have to be good at it, which clearly I'm not. But that was the complaint for many people, that Skyrim was just too casual, too easy, the combat, everything was kind of too simplified. This way, you know, you can add RPG stuff that you want. For example, you know, I'm focusing on magic and being a vampire. You can tweak that to your own experience, add more RPG depth in the areas that you care about, update the combat so it's not casual anymore, make the animations feel much more immersive and dynamic, you know, add things like stealth mage, and, you know, all of these different combat elements, and then just add immersion into the world by, you know, updating the graphics and the realism of the lighting and water and all this kind of stuff. That makes Skyrim feel like a fresh experience. And to me, the world already feels alive. Like, you don't need to change much. The ambience of Skyrim is already perfect. That's the reason so many people come back to play this game, even, you know, over 10 years later. It's kind of crazy. Now, I've tried to capture some of the same areas, but it's going to look different, basically, no matter where you go in different times, because it's such a dynamic setup. That's what makes this truly feel next gen, in my opinion, and what I've done a good job capturing. Now, obviously, all credit goes to the actual mod authors, who have, you know, created all these amazing assets and stuff like that. But honestly, I think if you want a 2026 Skyrim experience that still feels true to the original, but updates everything, then, you know, maybe this mod list will interest you. But there you go. That is Skyrim modded in 2026. How to make Skyrim next gen for 2026. When the lighting hits just right, that's when Skyrim is truly beautiful, especially with this mod setup. I just don't think there's anything else quite like Skyrim. And I think that if you're looking to play it again, consider checking out this mod list. I just wanted to show you what I've created. I think modding is just such a cool thing to do because you can create something completely unique, and Skyrim can still be a great game in 2026. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll be seeing you in the next one. Make sure you like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out. So thank you for watching this Skyrim 2026 modded showcase, and I do think that the mods shown are the best Skyrim mods in 2026, or the best Skyrim mods for 2026 if you're looking to, you know, if you're looking to update the game and make it a next-gen experience. I use the same amount of mods for my Fallout 1, which I'll show at some point very soon, because I think this is a perfect number before it goes overboard and you get a lot of conflicts and crashes. So I'm just going to show you all the mods right now, and you can then, you know, just find them by searching on Nexus. So for people who always ask, you know, the mod list, here you go. You can see exactly what I'm using, and yeah, the load order and everything like that. So these are all the mods that I use, and they all work well together. Since I fixed it and I changed some things around, it no longer crashes at all. So If you want to pause and then search it up and download these mods, you can. And then the ENB that I used is this one. And this goes very well with the mod, with the lighting overhaul mods that I just demonstrated, and works with the water and stuff like that. So yeah, there you go. I hope you enjoyed. If you have any questions, let me know. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Have a great day. Peace out.